And the roundtable's here. Former DNC Chair Donna Brazile, former Republican Congressman Patrick McHenry, SCOTUS blog editor Sarah Isgur, and former Governor of New Jersey Chris Christie. Donna, I want to start with that despicable and overtly racist video that ended up on, that was posted on the president's feed. What do you make of all of this?
Well, first of all, I feel more sorrow than rage. Sorrow because the President of the United States clearly understands that this type of, I don't know what he wants to call it, it is just outrageous. It's uncalled for. We spent 250 years of slavery, 100 years of Jim Crow before we elected our first black president. Barack Obama remains one of the most popular living presidents, and his Gallup numbers are between 59 and 63. The president, this was a deliberate act, I believe, that the White House put this out. And for whatever reason, the president still believes that he can divide us and detract us. He's not going to be able to destroy us. You know why? Because this country was founded on principles that people believe in, that we still want to accept, and we're not going to let anyone take us back. And I'm sorry that the President of the United States should know better, but unfortunately, he's not going to improve.
And Chris, he took it down, and they said that it was a staffer that did it. By the way, it was 11:30 at night or whatever when it was posted, and there's certainly no apology. I mean, what? And of course, the press secretary condemned the outrage before they condemned hours before they took the video down.
You know, John, with this one, I think Donna said everything that needs to be said about the video itself. I think it's a bigger issue. You know, I talk to friends of mine in my party who will say to me all the time, look, he's not a good guy. He's kind of crazy, but I like the issues. Here's the thing. What they're discovering now is character is the most important issue. And what the posting of that video shows is his absolute lack of character. And now what we're seeing is when you don't have character, you can't get the issues done either. Because all these acts of lack of character by Donald Trump are so distracting from issues like the economy, which the people care about, that he's now underwater on the economy. His lack of character allows him to do the things that ICE is doing that is so outraging the country. And now he's 20 points underwater on immigration, which has been a winning issue for Republicans for almost 2 decades. So for all my friends out there who say, yeah, no, I know the character is awful, but I care about the issues. You're not only now supporting someone with no character, but his lack of character leads to us not being able to accomplish the issues that we care about either.
Patrick, what did you make of the fact that we saw Republicans come out pretty quickly on this? Tim Scott very forcefully, several other Republican senators. Obviously, we heard from Lawler, but a lot of your former colleagues in the House.
Well, first, the video is absolutely terrible, yes. But what we do know about this president is he controls the memes, and the memes are the modern form of communication, and they've always danced on the edge. And when you dance on the edge, occasionally you fall off. But why this matters, and I think what is important to the legislative agenda, to the regulatory agenda, is the reaction on Capitol Hill and the reaction by the White House. This reaction by the White House looks much more like the first term than this second term. This second term, Susie Wiles has run a tight shop at the White House. The White House is a much tighter operation. It's been a sloppy response here by the White House.
You mean Caroline Leavitt coming out and condemning the outrage,
well,
the fake outrage?
Like a multi-layer set of traditional Washington responses this week, number one. Number two, you've not seen Senate Republicans respond like they have to this meme. The last time they did anything akin to this was 2016, 17, 18. President Trump has far more control of the Republican Party today than he does then. That is the first break we've seen. The president got his cabinet through the Senate, got every nominee through the Senate. He's gotten his legislative agenda through the House and the Senate without any objection of any meaningful sort. This is the first real break from the president.
And Sarah, I'm going to switch topics. The other big story we've been talking here is what the president's saying about elections and all the Fulton County stuff. And we want Republicans to take over the voting. I mean, what is he talking about?
Well, once again, we're seeing both parties switch sides. It had actually been the Democratic Party that had been in favor of nationalizing voter registration, for instance, and having the federal government play a bigger role in our elections. And it was Republicans who said, no, it's actually far more secure to have 50 separate elections. There's all sorts of reasons that states run the election, not the least of which is the Constitution, as you mentioned earlier on the show. And so once again, we see both sides switch. Democrats are discovering federalism and why, in fact, when you have a president that you don't like and you don't have control over which president's going to win, you may actually want states to be in control. And it's Republicans now who seem to have a very short memory and attention span who say, why don't we nationalize the election for 3 years? And then definitely we'll never lose another presidential election again.
Okay, but on this point, Trump is the ultimate magnet of our political discussion. So the Democratic Party had H.R. 1 in 2019 and 2021, Biden's first signature legislative item through the House. It was to nationalize elections.
This is the John Lewis?
This is the H.R. 1 for the People Act.
Okay.
And this was the bill that the Senate Democrats wanted to break the filibuster rule in order to pass. So this is not an ancient thing for the Democratic Party. Also part of that, as a kicker, was a mandate, a requirement that states have independent redistricting commissions to avoid gerrymandering. Everything's flipped because President Trump has picked a different spot. Everything's flipped.
The freedom to vote should be at the center of our democracy. And when Democrats push for these issues nationally, it is to ensure that no American is denied the ballot, to ensure that we're not purged because we changed our last name or we didn't vote in the last 2 elections. So I think we're talking about apples and oranges when we talk about what Democrats are doing on this issue of making sure that no one is restricted from the right to vote.
No, John, we're not. And Donna, we're not. Because this is about power. And when the Democrats were in power, they wanted to nationalize the election when they were in charge of the federal government. Now the Republicans are in charge of the federal government. They want to nationalize elections. It's about none of that. And one other thing the president said this week in the Oval was, he said, after all, states are just the agents of the federal government.
Madison said that in Federalist.
Which, as a former governor, and I think any former or current governor would loudly object to that. We are not agents of the federal government. And in fact, the reason why the states are in charge is for the very reason that Trump says he wants, which is he wants fair elections. Well, in my state, for instance, we have 2 Republicans and 2 Democrats in every county in the room when you're counting votes. That's called nonpartisan vote counting.
All right, and just very quickly, the context here is Republicans are fearing a really bad midterm. Am I right? I mean, what are you hearing?
Well, I think that's an understatement.
Yeah.
So first of all, in the Roman Republic, they would consult and they would reference the auspices. They would look for signs in the sky of how the birds moved or thunder and lightning to look for an omen. Well, in Texas, we saw a bad omen for Republicans, a switch of 31 points.
This was the special election for a state legislature seat.
Yes, which matters not at all. It is much more psychic than scientific that we're getting results from. It's like consulting the sky.
Because this was a Democratic seat that Republicans a Republican seat that Democrats just took away.
And it swung by 31 points.
31 points.
But it's happening all over the country. It's happening in Mississippi. It's happening in Georgia, and it happened yesterday in Louisiana. It's happening everywhere.
It's immigration and it's affordability that are the driving force. We also had the special election in New Jersey, where the progressive won over all the money spent for a moderate. And that tells me that the Democratic primaries are going to be through the progressives this year, while Republicans look at a very tough.
Okay, I also want to ask you that something is going to happen starting Monday. The Epstein files, unredacted, and by the way, I've got a few of the files that were released. There were a lot of redactions. So members of Congress are now going to be able to go to a secure room in DOJ and look at these unredacted files. One of these that I think is probably going to be the first to look at, I want to see if we can put up on the screen. It was sent to Jeffrey Epstein. The name of who sent it is redacted. And the message at 3 in the morning on March 3rd, 2014, thank you for a fun night. Your littlest girl was a little naughty. Now, why that was redacted is a mystery, but what do you think we're going to see?
What is shocking to me is that Republicans have allowed this to drag on the way that it is. I mean, we've been talking about this now for a year at least about the Epstein files and Trump's promise to his voters. And here we are still talking about it every Sunday. And it does come to the midterm elections. Those special elections that we talked about, they're not telling you that voters are switching from Republican to Democrat. Those are about turnout. And it's about enthusiasm on the Democratic side. Why are Republicans spending time on this instead of affordability?
Well, because Trump's the guy, like the dog who caught the garbage truck. Right? He was chasing this Epstein thing all through his political campaign. And now, oh, damn, now I have to do something about it. And he remembers now, man, friends of mine are all over this thing.
Dog's going to bite him.